Hello YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter nations. Desktop Bible Guy here. Welcome to episode 10 of my Gospel of John series. Today we're going to be studying John chapter 1 verses 47 to the end of the chapter. John chapter 1 verse 47 says, Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said to him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no guile. To the average reader, this verse may seem somewhat strange. Why would Jesus say these words to Nathanael? Christ's words actually make complete sense, however, but only if one understands the proper context for the verses. In order for us to make complete sense of Jesus' words here, we have to go back to the story of Jacob and Esau. You may recall in a previous episode that I explained this story, but for those that were not there following along with us, I'll quickly summarize it here. So Jacob goes into his blind father Isaac and convinces him that he actually is Esau, so that he would bless him instead of Esau before he died. Okay, so that's what you need to understand in order to understand the verses which actually give the proper context for Christ's words, which are in Genesis chapter 27 verses 30 to 35, which say, Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. He also made savory food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father arise and eat some of his son's game, that your soul may bless me. And his father Isaac said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, Who? Where is the one who hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, Bless me too, my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit, and has taken away your blessing. Now it's that last verse there, that last bit, that I really want us to focus on here. When Christ calls Nathanael an Israelite in whom there is no guile, he's saying that Nathanael is a man that is unlike Jacob, who came into blessing by way of trickery. Do you see now why it's so important to understand the proper context for these verses and have an understanding of your Old Testament when trying to understand your New Testament? Anyway, okay, so now that we've sorted out what Jesus was getting at in verse 147, we can move on to John chapter 1 verses 48 and 49. These verses say, Nathanael said to him, How do you know me? And Jesus answered and said to him, Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. And Nathanael answered and said to him, Rabbi, You are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. In these verses, we have another clear example of Jesus' divine power on display. When Jesus said that he saw Nathanael under the fig tree, I take this to mean that Jesus saw Nathanael praying while he was sitting privately under his own fig tree, before they were formally introduced. It could be argued that Jesus simply happened to see him under the fig tree, before they actually met. But it's Nathanael's reaction to Christ's words that I think strongly indicates that something supernatural has happened here. He says, in response to Christ's words, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. In other words, he's saying that as a result of what Christ has said, Nathanael is declaring Jesus to be the Messiah. Why would Nathanael say these kind of things unless he truly believed that Jesus had done something spectacular? The only way to really make this make sense is that is that Jesus is saying, Nathanael, I saw you praying to me, or I saw you praying to God. I saw you praying to Yahweh under your fig tree, and you thought you were alone, but I saw you. I saw you praying. I was the one that was listening to your prayer. So when you have that understanding of that verse, it really helps you see just how important this verse really is. Okay, so moving on to John chapter 1 verses 50 and 51, and these verses will close out the chapter. Jesus answered and said to him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You'll see greater things than these. And he said to him, most assuredly, I say to you, hereafter you shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Now, like the previous verses, Christ's response here can also be tied back to the life of Jacob. Genesis chapter 28, verses 11 and 12 say, he came to a certain place, and he spent the night there, because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place, and put it under his head, and lay down in that place. And he had a dream. And behold, a ladder was set on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. So, Genesis 28 verses 11 and 12 are actually have actually come to be called the story of Jacob's ladder. So what Jesus is actually saying to Nathanael is that the real event in Jacob's life, in other words, the dream that he had about the ladder that was ascending to heaven, in which he saw the angels go up and down on it, this real event in the life of Jacob is meant to be understood as a picture of me. I am Jacob's ladder. I am the one in whom humanity and divinity intersect. I am the one through that serves as the connecting point and the bridge or ladder between humanity and God. So, I mean, you can really understand, the importance and the power of these verses and what they're actually saying. It's another actual real dramatic reveal of who Jesus is claiming to be and who Jesus really is. But this is also another instance of that really shows that the two testaments of Scripture are so intimately connected. There's this idea going around in the church today that the two testaments can be separated, and that Christians only need to concern themselves with the New Testament, and this is just not true. Now I want to clarify and say that it is true to say that Christians predominantly are not meant to get their doctrine from the Old Testament, meaning that, and by that I mean that Christ has fulfilled the requirements of the Old Testament law, meaning that Christians are not meant to live as Jews, are not required to live under the 613 laws that are in the Mosaic Code. In that regard, it's absolutely right to say that Christ has fulfilled the requirements of the Mosaic law, but to say that the two testament, to say that a Christian doesn't need to have an intimate understanding of his or her Old Testament in order to really understand what's being said in the New Testament is just wrong. In order to really hammer home what I'm saying here, I want you to visualize in your mind a treasure map. Now, in order for a treasure map to be useful to anyone, you need two things. You need not only the map itself, but you also need the key and the legend. Those are the two parts of a map that help you interpret what a map says. That's the part of the map that helps you distinguish the symbols on the map. So one could say that that each of the testaments kind of represent the two parts of a map. The two parts of the map to God's ultimate truth and God's ultimate true treasure, His Word. You need the map itself, which one could say is the which is the Old Testament, and then the New Testament, which is the legend and the key for the map, which help make sense of the Old Testament and everything in it. One cannot hope to understand the Bible without a understanding of both testaments. Okay, and with that, I'll go ahead and leave you here today because I see that we're rapidly approaching the 15-minute mark. And with the next episode, we'll be beginning Chapter 2. So I hope you can join me for the next episode. And until then, God bless and take care.